What is going on, guys? Welcome back to another video. Leon Angus, and in today's video we're going to be talking about how to find a writer, a high quality writer at that, on a low budget. When you're starting out with SEO, there's so many overheads, so many different costs that you just can't see, such as, you know, if you're building backlinks, that can be quite expensive. Hiring writers can be quite expensive, and sometimes you don't even know how to assess the level of work that you're actually pushing out yourself. So if you're writing content yourself, you're not able to really decipher what is high quality content. And I just think it's a really vague statement that all of us marketers make. So when you're watching majority of these videos online, you would hear people say, do high quality content, produce high quality content, produce content that's of value, and all these different vague statements. So what we're going to try to do today is actually break down and decipher and distill it so you can actually go out and understand how to take those steps in creating a piece of content that is of high quality. Okay, so I've got two methods that I'm going to be showing you today. One of the most beneficial parts about using content mills, which I would put a lot of platforms where you can find cheap writers, you'll find that a lot of them give you tools and facilities to decipher the information that they have within their website. So a lot of the time you find data that you can use to your benefit. Now, this is something I haven't shared before because a lot of people don't understand about finding good quality writers on a low budget. They usually believe you can't do that, but there are ways around that. Now, what I'm actually going to break down before we get into this video and get onto the computer is, if you are on a low budget, then you have to put more work in. So I'll just explain that from the beginning. So if you've got a bigger budget, it allows you to buy speed and time. Yeah, so you'll be able to outsource someone of higher quality, which will save you time and hard work in the beginning. But if you don't have that budget, then you're going to have to compensate for that with your hard work and blood, sweat and tears. And then obviously you'll be able to use a lower budget, or if not any at all. Okay, so what I'm trying to get at here is, when you go onto these platforms that are for people on a low budget, you have to remember that in order to achieve this sort of level of content that you need to produce, you're going to have to compensate with a bit of hard work up front. So that means that you need to be as detail oriented as possible when you're producing templates for your writers. So you have to give them as much information as possible so they write in the correct way. Even when you get that content back, there's still a process of you then optimizing it and editing it to bring it up to par, because very seldom are you going to get a piece of content that's just ready to publish immediately, unless you're paying like $300-400 per article. When you get it back from your writer, you're then going to edit the article. So you're going to make sure that it reads well, read the introduction, do all of your SEO stuff, and then after you would publish that piece of content. So there's actually a process that it goes through. All right, but what we're going to do now is we're going to get onto the computer. I'm going to show you these techniques so you can start doing this from today, and you'll finally understand what high quality content actually is. So what I'm going to show you in this part is one of these platforms, which is called IWriter. So you've got IWriter, which is a good platform. You know, it's a content mill service. It's exactly like something like Text Broker, and all that means is when you put out a job request, it goes out to a pool of writers. So there's many different people from around the globe that get access to that job order that you've put out, and they'll obviously get the chance to potentially write for you. But it's very difficult to decipher, first of all, you know, the high quality writers from the good ones. Okay, so if we're going to use something like IWriter, because I use this quite a lot, you can take everything that I teach you inside of this part of the video and apply it to any other content mill service, providing that they give you access to the data and tools that we have here on IWriter. And if not, then obviously you might potentially want to consider IWriter because it has so many writers on here. Okay, now one of the benefits about IWriter is the fact that you get a quick turnaround time, so it's a very good platform. So when you come up to the top, you can see I've got 12 orders here at the moment and whatever else. Click find writers and you can come to all categories. Now I personally would first of all go down and niche down into your category, shopping and product reviews. Okay, and what the good thing about IWriter is that it gives you access to data on the right. So one of the things that I generally look out for, and a few guidelines that I follow, is I try to go for people that have at least over 800 articles published on the website. Okay, now if you can't find that, that's totally fine, because that's trying to get like the best of the best on the platform, not because of how many articles they've written, but because of when you merge that with the other metrics that I'm going to get you to pay attention to. So if we take a look at this, if we were to open, say for example, this person here, their profile, we can see when they last logged in. Now, I'm always looking at last login because that's giving me information on how often they are active on the platform. Like, you know, are they recently active? Have they 2 days ago? Shows me that this person might not be using it every day, or they might be busy. So that you need to then take a look at the other information to get to a solution here. So if we take a look, I don't really pay attention to where the writers are from. I used to. The thing is, honestly, I found some of my best writers from like the Philippines and India. Like, so it's quite shocking. I only used to go for like US or UK based people, and then I saw the quality that was coming out from these other guys, and it really gives people a run for their money in the West. You'll be very surprised at the level of quality that these guys can push out. This meets the criteria on the amount of orders that they've completed. Then I also want to see that they're consistently working through the months. If I start seeing like a 1 here or 2 there, and then it's sporadic, they come back like 20 jobs, well, that shows no consistency. So you want to see that they're consistently for the last 3 to 4 months doing work on the platform. So that you only get this data on IWriter specifically, but I want to see that they're consistently working. The other thing is, I look at their overall star rating. So this obviously gives you like, you know, out of 5 stars, what are they? I mean, this is like a 4.8, 4.9, something like that. So out of 1,200 orders, they're sitting at almost a 5 star. So this tells me straight away that they're probably a good writer. But then the deciding factor for me is the repeat clients. So just a secret gem that I don't share publicly usually, but I am in this video, is if you want to find the best writers, honestly, I've always found something correlating between all of them, is that the best writers usually have over a 40% repeat client rate. So what that means is that out of like 1,200 people, at least 40% of them, so we're talking like about 500 people at least, have come back. You know, so that shows that they are good. Like if someone keeps getting people coming back and it's into the thousands or into the hundreds, it shows their level of work. So I'm usually looking at consistency. I'm looking at when they last logged in, their star rating, and then their repeat client rate. Now, I'm usually looking for a 40%. But in conjunction, I would still go for this writer purely because they still got a very good rating and they're very consistent. Give or take, you're never going to get these exact metrics, but this is just a general guideline to follow. And if we do this for another writer, you can see that it's very easy to now kind of distinguish the good guys from the bad guys. Like if we were to take a look at, like, say, for example, a random person, these are the first few and the first few pages, but sometimes you can pluck these guys out of the backgrounds as well. For example, on a smaller scale, you could still emulate that, because if they still got a repeat client of like 40% or above, and they've got consistency of like 11 jobs a month maybe, and they've only completed 149, maybe they're a good writer, you know, and you might get them on a premium opposed to elite. So elite is like the second best, and then elite plus is like best of the best, like, you know, for tech reviews and stuff like that. But personally, I think like elite is probably the best one to go for, and some people argue the fact that premium is probably one of the best, because what happens is in this area you get a lot of creative writers. When you get up here, they're very like data driven in that sense. Premium, just say, because this is going to make things a lot more cheap. And if you want to see IWriter's pricing tables, they're very reasonably priced. Not trying to push them on you in any way, but you can see that for 3,000 words on premium, you're only paying like $50, and then 3,000 words on elite is only $66. So it's very cheap content. But you can see, obviously, if you go up to this level, you know, it's 217, which is about the average price usually for like a piece of SEO content, or a bit on the expensive side, to be fair. All right, so if we come back to this, we're going to look for all the premium writers. So let's just change this to all categories, because sometimes you can even leave it on that and still pluck out some good guys. So if we take a look down here, we can see that we've got all these premium. I don't usually go for people that got no like user info and stuff like that. Like, I mean, if you might want to check them out, but I'm a bit iffy about that sometimes, yeah. But you can see like well over 800 jobs, all of these writers. So say, for example, I'm straight away attracted to these guys. If we open this, we can see that he was last active today, and so is this guy. Okay, so we could open this. We got a 27 repeat client rate. I'd immediately just come off it, like, you know, they're Philippines, I'd come off it straight away. So we'd go and check this one. So that was immediately, see, so this is good. Look, consistency and a 50% repeat client rate and a good star rating. So this is someone that I would definitely use. You can see straight away, and they're premium writers. So that's very good. And all you do is just maybe add them to your favorites, you know, So look, they're already on my favorites, so it's got removed from favorite. If we head over to a platform called Text Broker, you can see that this now gives you ways of finding writers based on the level of quality that they have, like in regards to their experience, you know, and results and feedback. And then you can decipher, like, you know, the price. So you can find like people who are charging more, less, so on and so forth, and then their rejection rate, type of writing, languages, so on and so forth. We'll be able to find people based on those specifications. So straight away we can see these people, but if we click on any of them, we can see some of their experiences, the writing samples. So when you're looking at this is what comes down to, when you're, especially when you're like in the online website space, you know, like SEO niche space and whatever. If you look at this, it's just writing. So you're like, okay, the first thing that someone would decipher as good writing is, does it read well grammatically? You know, but that's not enough. Like, we're not doing that for SEO. So it needs to read well grammatically, but we could use Grammarly for that. So that's not the answer. Okay. What we need to do in order to decipher whether this is good is, first of all, we need to make sure that it's in the right format. Okay. So if you were trying to learn about a particular topic, say for example, so if we come in, the first thing is, like, we need to be educated on, why cats pee on beds, and then it's going to walk us through the process. Yeah. So if we take a look at this introduction, we've got a short intro, and then cats that urinate inappropriately may have a medical problem. Okay. So this is going into to reasons of why. Okay. And then more reasons, elaborating reasons of why it might be happening, like, you know, behind their actions. Okay. And then potential solutions. Okay. So it's kind of walking us through that process, like identifying the problems. What I would add in here, what I'm saying is definitely missing, is there's no real symptoms of anything. A symptom obviously, could be weeing the bed. So that is the symptom as well, to be honest. It's good enough anyway, showing up in the top 10. What they're doing is walking us through the process essentially. Yeah. So if you were going to go and write a piece of content, the first thing is you want to be walked through in the correct way. So if you're making a buying decision, you want to know that you coming with an introduction, then it might be like how to choose the product. So you help them on how to actually pick a good one. And then you walk them through that process, and then you take them through like a buyer's guide, and then through some FAQs at the end, and then a conclusion. You'll kind of learn that over time, like especially with researching within your space and your niche and seeing what other websites are doing, but you'll generally see the same kind of flow across multiple articles. So if we open this next one, you can see that it's going to take us the same thing. Look, why is the cat peeing on the bed? Your cat's, that's a speller error, I think. Yes, cat's health, that's meant to say, which is quite funny. Reasons, and look, see, so these are reasons behind why. It's like the same thing, and then there'll be a solution maybe at the end. Look, so these are solutions. So it's almost the same exact thing as what we just read, but this one actually elaborates on things a bit better. But we're generally following that same system. Okay. Now, the easiest way to identify that when you're getting a writer to write for you is, number one, you could come in, and if you see these same subtopics like across the board for multiple different articles, then it's giving you an idea. Like the top 10 page results on Google is giving you the answers to what you need to do, like to the framework. Okay, so you need to follow that same framework. Even if you're going to improve it, you still need to follow that same structure. Okay, because that's what Google wants to see. This is why you want to write in subheadings, because if you wrote something about anxiety, straight away you're forcing the writer to go down the route of talking about anxiety related to this kind of behavior. These are solutions again. Make sure the litter box itself isn't the problem, so on and so forth, and they take you through a bunch of solutions. When you create your piece of content, you want to give them the subtopics. You always want to give them the subtopics. Okay, so that's how they're going to use the correct wording and things that Google wants to see associated, like talking about stress and anxiety as a symptom or a reason, sorry. They're going to go in and talk about, they're going to incorporate the word stressed, and then you've got separation anxiety they might just put in there naturally, and all these different things that they wouldn't have if you didn't put that subheading there for them in the first place, So you always want to give them all subheadings, or as many as you can, and then let them know that they're welcome to add on to that, because you still need to give them that creative room. Okay, so whatever you've given them in your content brief, you then want to assess it, and I've got this template here. I'm going to share it in the description box below. You can edit this. I'm going to make a copy so you can. What you need to do actually is file, make a copy, and then you save it in your kind of your Google Drive or whatever. And then once you've got your copy, you can edit it. Yeah. Okay. And what you need to do is basically, based on your content brief and what you've told your writers, I need you to give them information on the introduction they need to write, the subheadings, the general context of the article, the objective, type of article. Is it buyer focused? Are you trying to get someone to make a purchase, or are you just informing them on a particular topic or educating them? All of that. Okay. So this will give you quite a lot of information within that and what you need to do. But I tried to make this so it can go across the board for all different articles. Now, do I use this? No. Like, I generally just do this in my head when I'm assessing someone's content, but I wanted to distill it into a basic principle for anyone to be able to take on board and apply to their business. So if we talk about general article coverage, this is what I'm saying across the board, whether it's a buyer intent piece, whether it's a 1v1, which is product versus product, whether it's a question-based informational article, whatever it is, you're always going to have these general things that you need to cover. So if you print this off, you can actually tick the boxes, or you could, maybe put a tick box system in here or whatever. So we've got article written in first person. Now, if you ask them to write in third person because you're coming across as like some kind of company or brand, then did they do that? If they never, then leave it unticked or put an X in there. Okay. No overly short sentences used. This is something I don't like in my content. Okay. I like full sentences. So then I'll tick that box. None of them were used. No more than 3 lines per paragraph. That's purely based on when people are reading on mobile and when you copy it over to WordPress. I don't like more than 3 sentences because it just becomes like a wall of text. So I'm also looking at that, and if they did use more than 3, was it viable to do so? If it's like non-stop, like back to back, then obviously that's a bad thing. Resources included as links. So anything that they used as a resource, I'd like them always to leave that for me, so I can potentially use that as an outbound link or a resource, for the readers. No repetitive words or phrases started to use at the start of sentences. So this, that, the, like all of those kind of repetitive sentences, they could start them again and again and again. Like you find some writers do that. So these are things that you would actually use when you're coming to a platform like Text Broker. You can see these things. Did he use repetitive beginnings? So we've got there, they, this, so that's not too bad, but it's like I would improve that. You can see that even this guy's best work that he's showcasing is not absolutely brilliant, because we're like talking in the same context of there is that, they are this is that. It's almost boring. Yeah. So you could be more creative. Instead of saying there is some debate why a barrier exists, you might say, you may have heard of the £100 price barrier or whatever, blah, blah, blah. In this article, you could reword things to make it more creative. Like how this starts, for example. In times of uncertainty, it's nice to have investment companies that operate in different markets. Multinational companies like McDonald's for a stable. Yeah, see, so that's good. This is all brilliant, like this kind of thing here. Yeah, so that's good. Let's go back to the content brief. When I give my content out to content brief to the writers, when I'm reviewing it, I want to see that the introduction is at least 100 words, because that's what I've told them to do. You want to see that the first sentence starts with either a relatable question, knowledge bomb, or scarcity. Okay, so what this is that, sometimes I even get them to start with a story that's relatable, that can resonate with the reader's problem. What we're trying to do here is get the reader to know that we're going to have a solution inside of the article. And the way you can do that is a relatable question, like, have you been having problems with X or Y? Or do you know how difficult it is to fix X or Y? And they're like, yep, I know, because that's me. Or knowledge bomb. Did you know that 300 resources were developed for skincare last year? Blah, blah, blah. It's just showcasing that you're well researched, and be like, oh, I never knew that. Okay, let's read on and see what this person has to offer. Or if you don't fix your skin XYZ, then this can potentially happen. Did you know skin cancer is a direct outcome of not repairing your skin by 40? I don't know, like whatever it is, you'd obviously make it true. Yeah, so that's another thing, is scaring them in. Or you could use a relatable story to hook them. Okay, so like, I was sitting down the other day looking in the mirror and realized how wrinkly my skin looks. God help me, I needed to get hold of some kind of skincare products, you know, whatever. So they can relate to that story. Like, yep, that's me all the time. Always looking in the mirror, whatever else. Okay. Did they tell the reader what they aim to gain from the post? So this is what, like, this is important, I think, from any article. So direct approach use are not passive. So what I'm looking for in the introduction area is that they tell you, like, this is what you will learn if you read this piece. Not like it's hard to do it on a piece of content like this, because obviously it's not I haven't given this guy like a brief to write this stuff. You usually can still kind of use it to decipher this information, and this should give you a general idea of what to do. No simple sentence starters. So that's the same thing I explained earlier, like the ands, buts and thens and whatever else. When we're talking about our specific SEO content that we've put out to our writers, we want to see that it's NLP oriented. So what that is basically natural language processing, and this is what Google uses to decipher and understand human language, okay, English in our case. So direct answers given to main keyword. So what you want to see is, for example, in order it also helps for this kind of information. Now what's good is, because Google now has the snippet and it highlights it in yellow when you click it, we'll be able to see what I'm talking about. So the question is, why do cats pee on beds? So this should immediately answer that, and that's a prime example of NLP. Yeah, so NLP is if someone just asked you the question, you directly reply with a direct answer and back it up with any data or resources so this is the answer here. Yeah, so you're saying, why do cats pee on beds? And then it's answering you directly. Cats usually pee on a bed due to blah 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 blah. Okay, so if we click this, we'll see it in yellow. You see that? So this is the NLP format, and you usually find this somewhere near the top. They're directly answering it within this section here. So that's quite beneficial to that. Okay, that's how you do that. 3-line paragraphs, tables, bullets used, everything. So like in this area, you can do a few things. You could answer this in a list format if that's what it warrants. Like if someone's saying, what is the best XYZ? You could have a list of those best things immediately, or a table. So like someone says, what size tire best fits a BMX? And then you could have like a table of all the different BMXs and all the different tires. Yeah, so tire sizes, sorry. So that's how you could do that. So there's many different ways. Then as we come down, you've got product reviews. This is for product review articles. Okay, so I'm usually looking for a 200 product review worded section. And for each product review, benefits of products explained, uniqueness of product explained, pros and cons if it warrants that, yeah, or features and specs if it warrants that instead, or both. And then best purpose or problem the product solves. So, you know, like for example, when you're writing a product review, there might be one that's best suited. Like if we talk about pets, because I'm always writing about dogs, one could be best suited for larger dogs, best suited for small dogs, or best suited for short-haired dogs, you know, and all these different things. Or best suited for active dogs and all that kind of thing. Yeah, best suited for seniors, best suited for puppies. All that was that kind of, you know, explained. Okay, best purpose or use. How-to sections in mid-content areas. So like, was it a step-by-step guide, a numbered steps, or actionable information? Like, so how-to information always needs to be actionable. Like it needs to be something that people can action by reading the content. So they need to have some form of transition throughout. And what to consider section, you can see here, explanation of what subtopic actually is, reason why subtopic is important explained. Like, did they explain why the subtopics are important? So if I'm talking about dog training or something, and then I'm going through a specific type of training, like obedience training, have I explained exactly why obedience training is even beneficial? If I just start saying, oh, blah, 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 obedience training, this is how you do it, like the reader's like, okay, that's great, but how does that relate to me, and why do I need to do that? You know, so that's the big thing. You need to identify why it's important, you know, and then go on to explain, you know, what it is and how to do it and all of that. These are buyer's guides. So like, you know, relatable story used to explain difficult problem or of buying item or whatever else. Subtopics of buyer's guide. FAQs, again, you want direct answers on them. Resources shared, facts and knowledge showcased to back up each answer. So any data that they have as well. Summary, I always tease anyone that's missed out, or the skim readers. That's my technique. And what was learned explained. So like, what did we cover? So, oh, now you should know XYZ because of XYZ mentioned, and go on to blah, blah, blah. And that's what this reader wants to do. And then they're like, oh, I never read it. Okay, let me go back. XYZ. Yeah, okay. There's a lot to cover and I don't want this video to get too long, but that is generally like a template that you can use to give you an idea of what high quality content should look like. Now you can tweak this, and I would highly recommend you do, and then create a content brief based on this, like so, and this should help you. So if you're going to use any kind of content mill, you can use that information that I've given you to help you decipher what good content and high quality content is here. And then if you're actually looking on a place like IWriter, then you can look for all of those metrics and it'll give you a clear indication of what to look out for to highlight someone that's a good writer. But you still need to give them the content brief in order for them to produce a good piece of content to rank on a website. Okay, so we're not just writing for like a blog that we're sending, that we're sharing on social media. We're trying to rank it on Google, and in order to do that, you have to do things with a content brief and give them the subtopics so they're using the right wording and things like that. All right, so if you have any questions about this, then make sure to leave it below in the comment section. If you are new, then I would encourage you to subscribe, and if you like the video, make sure to smash the thumbs up. I hope you was able to get some level of value from this video. As with always, I'll see you in the next one. Thank you for watching.